G'day everybody, long time no see. I do apologise for that. I know it's been a long time since I've uploaded a video, but as you can see, I'm getting straight into it here with some painting. More specifically, I am following a Bob Ross tutorial. I will leave the link in the description for the tutorial that I'm following, and if you're lucky, I might even remember to put a card up the top. But I'm going to be doing it a little bit of a different way here. So Bob always uses oil paints. I wanted to see if you needed to use oil paints. So on the first one here, I am using acrylic paint, but I have applied a medium to it to make the acrylic paint dry a little bit slower. And I will also be doing an oil painting of it, and then I'm just going to be doing a straight acrylic paint of it. Now, I haven't actually recorded the straight acrylic paint of it, but I have recorded obviously this one that I'm doing and the oil paint. But I'll just be comparing the differences between the three different mediums as I go along. So the first thing that I noticed with the acrylic using the medium is that if you're used to using oil paints, it's still not a substitute for oil paints. It will make the acrylic dry slower, which is great, but oil paints have this ability to be able to control the thickness of the paint by adding a little bit of linseed oil or terps, but this one you can control the thickness of the paint, but it's in a very different way. When you add the medium, it more just makes it watery, and it doesn't quite blend as nicely as the oils, so it still doesn't give that richness that the oils do. So if you want, like if you're used to using oils and you're thinking of going to acrylic with a medium for whatever reason, you know, maybe they're less expensive or you don't like being around terps or whatever, this isn't going to get the results that you really want. But if you already use acrylics and you're just frustrated with how fast they dry, this could be a very good alternative for you. The other thing that I did notice is that in the thicker layers, the paint really didn't want to stick to the canvas. I apologise, it's focusing on my face rather than the painting, but you can see here as I'm putting the paint down, it likes to try to slip off the painting a little bit. I struggled to get it to stay where I wanted it to. I couldn't really just sort of smear a line down like he was on the tutorial, but I did get a result that I was somewhat happy with. I think it does look a little bit messy, but otherwise it's it's a first attempt. I should also note that I am using a smaller canvas than Bob is, but I am using the same size canvas on all three paintings, so they are all the same size canvas. The disadvantage I had on this one was, of course, that it's my first attempt, and I learned a lot from that going with the next two attempts. But one of the other disadvantages I felt like I had is really that it just wasn't oils. I still got a result, so you can get something with it, and you can still follow a Bob Ross using the acrylic with the medium, but it's just not going to be quite as rich. And you'll hear in his videos how much he praises oil paints. It's for a reason. The other thing you will notice is that I'm not using the same colours that Bob used because I didn't actually have them. And then because I didn't have the same colours, I decided to play with them a little bit more. So as you'll see, the trees are a little bit more green. I've added a little bit of yellow in with the blue. Bob never did that. He just made them straight blue. But I wanted them to sort of distance themselves from the trees in the background. So added that little bit of yellow to them. And as for the brown of the deciduous trees in the foreground, I had to mix that myself because I couldn't even find a colour close to the ones that Bob was using. So you will notice when I compare the three at the end, the tree bark is a different colour on each painting because I mixed them independently. And yeah, just doing the finishing touches on this one, really adding the snow and trying to do a little bit of blending. Didn't, like I said, it didn't work out great with the blending, but yeah, this is the acrylic with the medium, and then we will move on to the oils. So yeah, straight away it's hard to explain the difference, but the oil paints just have this sort of richness or creamy texture when you're spreading it. Something that the acrylic just didn't have, even with the medium. It's really nice to, paint over the canvas. It really spreads nicely. Yeah, it's just this creaminess. It's really hard to express. And of course, this is my second attempt, because the first attempt was the one with the acrylic and the medium. This one is oils, but I've still learnt some things from the first attempt. So it's always sort of good to do one and then another one straight after it, because you do learn a lot from the first one, and you can adjust your mistakes, change things here and there that you didn't like. So that there is that. You may also notice, if you're a keen observer, that I have forgotten my glasses, so that's a bit of a disadvantage that I had for this one, but really at this close it didn't really make a difference. Pretty new to glasses. I haven't needed them for a long time, and now I do, so every now and again I'll forget them and then realise that the world is just very blurry. But yeah, like I said, I was close enough for it to not really affect the painting. So as you can see here, I do try again with a different palette knife. As I said before, it is a little bit too stiff. I think I need to do some palette knife shopping. I do want to get better at using the palette knife, but I do end up just giving up and using a brush. So the moral of the story is, Bob uses a palette knife. You don't really need to use a palette knife. You'll get better results if you can use a palette knife, if the palette knife is right for you. But these palette knives were not right for me, so I just went with a brush. I am still pretty new to using oil paints in general, so like I said, it is nice to have the ability to control the thickness of the paint with the linseed oil, but I am not still very good at that. I'm still practicing, I'm still learning. I have dabbled a little bit and done a few little things, and that was really nice to have that experience before going into this. But what I will say is, if you haven't used oils before, I do recommend getting into it. Maybe find a tutorial and follow that. There's really no shame in following a tutorial. You can learn a lot from them, and then once you're confident in what you've learned, you can go off and do your own thing, make your own painting, or even just do a simple apple or something like that. Once you've got the basics down, that's what they're there for. It's really handy, and learn from experience. It was probably about this point when I did realise that I probably should have opened a window. I'm using the terps to clean the paint off the brush, and the fumes really did fill the house. I did intentionally not open a window because it was early in the morning and it's winter here and it was cold, but I probably should have cracked a window just to let the fumes out and, I don't know, put a jumper on or something. But yeah, other than that, it was like a really nice experience. You can see here the snow was a much easier experience. It went on to the house a lot easier, and I could get a bit of a cleaner result. In general, I think the whole painting does look a lot cleaner, but I'll let you be the judge of that. Let me know if you think this one was better or the other one was. Or maybe you like the plain acrylic one at the end. I will still show the picture of the plain acrylic one. I just don't have the video footage of it. Again, I've added some green to the trees. When you're following along with the tutorial, you really don't have to follow exactly if you don't want to. You might not get the same result, but that's okay. It's one of the things that Bob really champions in his videos, that you can make your own painting. His is just a guideline. So if you want to make a change, make a change. I've done that. I've added some green to the trees to make them stand out from the background ones. I also ended up putting some snow on the trees, so it just made sense to me that if there's snow on the ground, there would likely be snow sitting on the top of the trees, stuck in the branches and whatever. So I did end up doing that as well, and I think that really brought the trees to the foreground a little bit more as well. Gave them some nice highlights that wouldn't have been there, and it makes sense for the picture, so why not? Here I am putting the snow I was talking about before. Let me know what you think about the snow. Do you think it was a good addition, or do you think that maybe I should have just stuck to the tutorial? Let me know in the comments. But yeah, I feel like I'm running out of things to say here, because I mean, I think I've said a lot about the oils as it is. I will move on to the acrylic painting because I don't have the video of that, so I'll just talk over this video. What I did find with that is that the acrylics dried extremely fast, especially moving from oils where they really don't dry fast straight to acrylics. I did do these in 3 separate days, so 1 day for each painting, but still I was feeling like the acrylic was almost drying on the brush. Also, this was the 3rd attempt, so I was kind of sick of painting the same thing over and over again. A lot of people will say to paint like or draw one thing and then do it again and then do it again. For me, the 2nd attempt I feel like was the best. The 3rd attempt, and here it is, I got a little bit lazy with it, I think, but I don't know if that's more because I was not enjoying the paint medium or because it was the 3rd attempt. I think that I did everything that I wanted with the 2nd attempt, and then the 3rd attempt came and I was not enjoying how fast the paint was drying. I was not enjoying the colours I was getting out of them. I do think that the sky, however, was better than the other two. Other than that, I think the oil painting wins overall. I did also try to use the same colours this time. I still couldn't get the same brown, so the trees are a completely different colour. But yeah, I think that I like the oil the best, and then the acrylic with the medium, and then the acrylic came last, and I think I probably could have tried a bit better with that.